Now the officer has to go to court.
Now, did you notice in that clip that they referred to him as a civilian? We've noted that from time to time on the show as, again, the words and the language, the spelling, casting the spell with the words. You're now a civilian, which is military speak. You're either in the military or you're a civilian. Quickly now, as we close out this episode 176, we do still have a massive amount of biowars and envirohealth updates, evacuation, geo-engineering, and infections, and I've pretty much lost track. What is this, week 7 of covering the Gulf oil spill? And just it gets uglier and more disgusting and worse and worse and worse, and we do have the flashbacks for you to trace back through the weeks. So here we have for this week: toxic beaches, mouth blisters, sore throats, lung problems, danger to city water, government approves decontamination centers. That's from shtfplan.com. Shit hitting the fan plan, indeed. BP worker found dead of natural causes. That's from nwfdailynews.com. Bobby Jindal vetoes, sorry, a little dyslexia there. Jindal vetoes bill to open spill records. That's from the Miami Herald. Hurricane season triggers planning to evacuate oil spill site. That's from the Washington Post. We also have activistpost.com, Veterans Today, myfoxchicago.com, as Katrina trained FEMA planned force evacuations. FEMA evacuation plans for Tampa Bay area in place, ? We do have Obama declaring a state of emergency in Texas. In the last couple of notes, U.S. House passes first legislation related to the Gulf oil spill. That's coming from Raw Story. And we'll close out the Gulf oil spill updates with another one from allgov.com. Toxic Katrina trailers now used for Gulf oil spill workers. They're back, and they're smelly as ever. The portable trailers used in the wake of Hurricane Katrina to house thousands of people who lost their homes and that were discovered to contain unhealthy levels of formaldehyde have returned to the Gulf Coast. But instead of the Federal Emergency Management Agency being responsible for the trailer's return, local agencies and private companies have been buying the units to house workers involved in the oil spill cleanup effort. So, just to again briefly run down all the red flags and sinister forces and connections that we've noticed and noted here over the past 6 or 7 weeks. There was a massive amount of stock being sold in the weeks leading up to the Gulf oil spill. There were drills and exercises going on in the days and weeks leading up to it. There was foreknowledge about the problems and the deficiencies from British Petroleum, longtime law flaunter, polluter. You see the first responders being told not to wear safety gear, and now we're tying in the Katrina angle. Again, Katrina, 9/11 being the two massive terror events of the last 10 years in the States. Two massive sort of test runs of what things would be like when the doo-doo hit the oscillator, if and when it does. Again, we've kind of noted the incremental march. Probably won't happen overnight, but then we do have massive events and even smaller terror events that move the agenda along, kind of fast forward it a little bit, especially things like 9/11 or Katrina, but on a smaller level, things like the underpants bomber and the other sort of patsy intelligence-connected false flag events and his handler and all that. We don't have time to go into the underpants bomber. But we tie in the Katrina connections on how things would go. In that ultimately, as we've said again, if things get sort of Mad Max-ish bad, you're going to see most of the first responders and cops and authority figures abandon their post anyway so they can go take care of their families. And it's going to be what Katrina looked like. And of course, they always hold off any kind of aid and assistance to the last possible moment till it's blown so far out of control. Again, whether that's 9/11 or Katrina or the Gulf oil spill. Even if you believe the official stories of you have to know that there's at least some kind of prior knowledge, and that they, as former IDF soldier Rahm Emanuel notes, that you never want to let a catastrophe go wasted or unexploited. Order out of chaos. We'll shift gears into the rest of the envirohealth headlines from the Daily Mail. Again, as this story gets wider and wider and wider, and this is their headline: Attack of the Vapors, How Jet Trails Block Out the Sunshine. Again, when you say words like chemtrails, people think you're a kook. But if you use the nomenclature that they use, that they openly talk about it in the CFR think tanks and in the foundation-funded pharma military outfits, they call it geo-engineering the atmosphere. They're absolutely doing it. Pacific Northwest seems rife with it. I saw massive, odd jet trails the other day and a inverted rainbow for no apparent reason. But again, this is just speculation and telling you what I see and what I saw. Extensive cleanup work done on Plum Island. That is, of course, from bioprepwatch.com. And I'll note, I got a bootleg of the new George Romero film, Survival of the Dead. Takes place on Plum Island, wouldn't you know it? That would be the biolab where some authors have noted and documented their connection to the creation of Lyme disease. Czech military to help National Guard establish chemical warfare unit in Texas. Timothy C. Haney, potential new Postal Service boss tied to the anthrax scare, worries workers. Basically, he was one of the guys running one of the post offices that got sent the false flag anthrax attack, pinned on the dead Patsy Bruce Ivans. Again, all these stories far too massive to get into here. Hopefully you can whet your appetite on any number of these levels and you can go down and do the research for that. But quickly now, Democrats step back on carbon cap. Scientific expertise lacking among doubters of climate change. That's from TerraDaily.com. UK lives destroyed by happy pills. Experts say thousands given dangerous drugs they don't need. Airport body scanners deliver radiation dose 20 times higher than first thought. And this note, our last clip, by way of CNN, Missouri Veterans Administration Hospital may have infected 1,800 veterans with HIV.
A VA hospital may have exposed more than 1,800 vets to hepatitis and HIV. St. Louis Hospital has sent letters to those vets. The patients may have been exposed to the viruses through contaminated dental instruments.
They were actually doing additional work in order to protect their kind of delicate instruments. Sometimes policies don't always get followed because people have very good intentions, but the end result is the policy that was supposed to be followed wasn't followed.
The hospital has sent certified notification letters to the affected patients, and Missouri Congressman Russ Carnahan is calling for a full investigation into what went wrong. Well, we just received a statement from the VA saying that the VA's primary focus, as always, is, quote, has been on the safety and care of our veterans. VA leadership recognized the seriousness of this situation and is taking steps to prevent this from happening again.
Oh, I'm sure it was all just an amazing accident. There's no overarching eugenics agenda connected to all of that, is there?